The love you see in me, that you are. The last 30 years I've lived under debt and obligation. A bit over a year ago, I came to a place in my life where I was suddenly and unexpectedly free for the first time in 30 years. That you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. During the early part of the pandemic, there was a lot of work for a doctor, so I was just working hard. And suddenly, in like just a 1 week period, I suddenly paid off all my credit card bills that were leftovers from my divorce. I paid all my taxes, the prepaid ones and the current ones. And then my son, at the same time, he decided that he wanted to go off and live on his own. And so suddenly I was there, completely free to do anything that I wanted. I asked myself, what was it I most desired? And there was a girl involved, there always is. And she was in Europe and I was in Australia. And I just came up with this idea of, go off to Europe. I didn't know how this was going to turn out with this girl, but I knew that I wanted to go on an open-ended adventure and I wanted to get rid of all my possessions. So I held a 2-day event in my house, a renunciation celebration, where I offered all my community of friends in Melbourne to come over and pick over the carcass of my previous life. And I ended up from the cold, wintry streets of Melbourne, drizzly and rainy and locked down, into the glorious sunshine of Amsterdam, swimming on the beach, floating on waves with air mattresses with a beautiful girl. And that didn't work out. I was in love with her. And my heart was thoroughly and completely broken, and I spent about a week in a little room in Amsterdam crying and crying and crying. I only left the place once a day, usually to get a falafel, and otherwise I was just crying while Van Gogh was looking at me on the wall. And then I started my adventure, first into southern Germany, and started to recover, and my heart started to put the broken pieces back together again. Met some beautiful people who nurtured me and loved me and helped me feel better. I think often where a lot of circles that I'm in, there's a shame about needing, like, don't be needy, all that sort of stuff. But actually we need it. And it's like, I'm going to proudly proclaim that I need human affection. I need human connection. It's a need. It's not just a optional extra in my life. And I think that that's what a lot of people feel, but they get shamed by this side and that side and the sort of hyper-independent sort of attitudes in society. No, actually, it's a need. It's much more of a need than a car or a house, There are 3 principles which I have developed for my journey, and that I am present, that I am free, and I am friendly. And so those 3 principles guide what I do. And it's worked out for me pretty well so far. One thing that I know is that when you're just on your own and you're just navel gazing or reading books or things like this, you often don't get very far, in terms of really changing the deepest emotional responses that you have to things that can be reflexive, So you can think, okay, I must do this, I must do that, I want to work this way now and not in that way. But when it comes to a situation, when you're in front of someone, the same old reactions come into play, the same old feelings of unworthiness or being unlovable or not good enough, all this stuff. And that really, the only way to really deeply dig out these things and really address these things is in human connection with other people. The T5 community, really there's just one word for me, and that's home. You know, when I come here, I feel like I'm coming home. That's more than anywhere else in Europe that I've been, you know. As soon as I came, you know, all these people running out to give me huge hugs that would lift me off the ground, you know. They were so happy to see me. And yeah, it just feels so good to be in a place where the people believe in the same things I do, you know. It's hard to put words to what I feel about this place, but yeah. When I walked in those back gates, I felt like I was coming home.